This is the third video in the series. We started the video series talking about filling down on activity 0.0 of the spreadsheet intro challenge. Then we just worked on equations, so equations and equations part 2. This one we're going to go a little bit further, so you might have to scroll right a little bit, and we're going to talk about fixed cell referencing. So first thing you should do is go ahead and read the article that's linked on the spreadsheet. Go ahead and pause this video and do a quick glance at that article. Hey, hopefully you paused and welcome back. So what we're going to be working on is cell referencing. So before we were actually doing some cell referencing with our equations where we were referencing this cell over here. But if I'm on this again, what we'll notice is that sometimes or that when we do the cell reference or when we fill down, it automatically fills down for the, or sorry, not fills down, but auto adjusts the cell we're referencing each time. So it kind of goes to the next one, the next one, the next one. But there'll be times where we just want to reference the same cell over and over and over again. Like for example, if I was doing y equals mx plus b, I might want to put my slope over here in this cell so that I can constantly reference it and then be able to change my slope and therefore the way the graph looks. So I'm going to walk you through that. So we're going to start by doing equals, and then we'll click on the m, and then I'll say times, and I'll click on my x data, and then I'll say, oop, I missed my x, and then I'll say plus, and then I'll click on the b. All right, so I'm going to hit enter, and then if I try and fill this down, we'll notice it starts to look funky. So if I check what's going on here, it moved down for this one, but it also moved down over here and over here when we wanted it to stay the same. So rather than trying to make a whole column of the slope and then always referencing that, we're going to do what's called a fixed cell reference. So I'm going to hit undo real fast. To fix the cell reference, what we do is I'm going to fix it on this E, and then this happens to be in row 10. So for the E10, what I'm going to do is put a $ in front of the E. That fixes the column. So it means even if I tried to pull this equation sideways, it would always reference column E. And then by putting a $ in front of the 10, it fixes or it fixes the reference to the 10 row, so that it always, no matter as I pull down, it will always reference row 10. So you can actually do these separate if you always wanted to reference one single row or one single column. You just only put one of the $. If you want it to reference a single cell, not a whole column or a whole row, then you need two $ there. So one in front of the column, one in front of the row. So we do that, but remember we need to do that as well for the B reference. So I'm going to go ahead and put a $ in front of E and then a $ in front of 12. Now that I do that, I'm going to go ahead and fill down real fast. Cool. Next thing I'm going to do, it tells me to graph it over here. I'm going to quickly do that. Remember, we always use a scatter plot in this in this class. So here we get a scatter plot. Remember, Google likes to separate our data. We don't want that, so I'm going to use B as labels. Cool. Now my data is together and we're good. All right, so I'm going to shrink the size of this. I'm not going to worry about the labels of it. But what I want to do is show you how now that we have these fixed cell references over here, if instead I wanted to change the line and see what it looked like if the slope was 3, I could change this to 3 and it auto updates everything. If I change this to 200, it auto updates all of my data and therefore auto updates everything over here. If I wanted to change this to a B value of -50, again, it auto updates everything, or maybe -5,000. We can see it auto updates everything, or a negative slope. So this is a super powerful tool to have a fixed cell reference, especially if you go into an IB science where you might be trying to fit a random equation or random set of data, or want to see the different effects. You can quickly kind of cycle through what the different effects are. Especially useful when you are trying to linearize your data, for those of you who are watching this from an IB physics class. When you're done, oh, we already did that. So when you're done by updating these, we update the graph. That's it for this one. Please find our next video on the average function, and that's all.